Hi everyone. This is the sixth coffee hour of the year. So this is the agenda for the day. We'll have Beloit College presenting, and then Warren is going to talk about his micro business models, and then Clark McCain from the foundation is going to share with us the survey findings of the Fellows Program, interim survey that we did, and then we'll end with announcements. Okay, go ahead, Warren.
Well, if we can move to the next slide, we will have our first student speaker here.
That's you. Hello, everybody. My name is Aiden Winery. I am a junior business econ major and a self-designed proposed entrepreneurship minor from Middleton, Wisconsin, which is right next to Madison. I've taken a few entrepreneurship classes here. Intro to Entrepreneurship with Brian Morello, who's the director of Celeb. The Life and Financial Planning Workshop with Warren, and as well as the Entrepreneurship Practicum class with Brian Morello. I also work down at Celeb under Brian Morello. So the venture that I did this last summer through the Entrepreneurship Practicum class that I took was a Midtown lacrosse clinic. And in this clinic, I basically ran for 5 weeks, about 20 kids, and it was a fun instructional camp that helped the players become a better player overall in skill development, but a better teammate as well. It was a pretty great experience for me. First time I've ever kind of thrown myself into something and really gotten into the waters. So it was pretty smooth, actually, because I had a lot of connections, and I was able to use my knowledge of lacrosse, which I play here at Beloit, and I was able to kind of help the players have a good time, but also understand what it is to be a teammate. And as I said, it went pretty smooth. I had a connection with Middleton High School and their lacrosse program, and they graciously let me use some of the equipment. So my startup costs were actually very, very low. I ended up only spending probably about $500, and I had 20 kids that paid $80 each for this camp, which ran for 5 weeks and 2 hours every Sunday night or afternoon. So I ended up making probably about $800 to $1,000 for 12 hours of my time. And that is my venture. I will pass it on to whoever is next.
Okay. Well, great. Could we have the next slide, Betsy? So we'll pass it over to Ellery.
There you go. All right. Hey, everyone. My name is Ellery Anderson White. I'm a senior here at Beloit College and a computer science major. So I actually transferred to Beloit and was originally a biochem major and came here and took the social, environmental, and scientific entrepreneurship workshop with a lot of the people who are in this room, Warren, Brian, Paul, Jerry, everyone, a lot of the people who are here with that. So, and I actually pivoted kind of my major and switched to computer science. Felt like I could have kind of a bigger impact in my time here doing that. So I've done quite a few different courses and different Coleman Fellow courses and had some different projects and stuff I've done through them. And I've learned a lot of skills, which I've kind of taken throughout me in kind of a lot of different places I've worked. So I was able to work down in Chicago doing scheduling for the mayor, which was a very intense situation. I got to work with 1871 and a lot of the tech startups there, and I used a lot of the skills I've learned. And I've also thank you. Yeah, so and then I've also worked at kind of large tech companies. I worked at Intuit doing it as a software engineer. And again, kind of applied a lot of these skills I've learned. And I've also worked at both kind of medium to well-established startups and very non-established startups doing as a software engineer. And a lot of the skills and things I've learned in these classes have really helped me a ton. and been able to apply those in different work environments. As far as like a venture I've taken out of some of these classes, probably my example, the most successful one, was a few buddies of mine and I up in Madison published a book with art, which had different healthcare codes. So it's ICD-10 is a way to.
And Betsy, if you could show the next slide.
Oh yeah, we have a little slide here with this. The next one here. Yeah, so there's some examples. So they have different artists from around the country, and we had different healthcare medical codes, and one of the kind of funny things about it is there's sort of really unrealistic codes that people would not normally ever think would happen to a person, and so we took the funnier ones and made art with them. And I took Struck by an Orca, which ended up being the cover and the name of the book. So if you see that up in the top middle one there, some kind of psychedelic orcas being shot out. So we published all this art, collaborated together in a book, and we sold $65,000 in the first month or two, and got featured in the New York Times, and had some pretty good success with that, and kind of split the profits. So that was, as far as art and entrepreneurship, a pretty good example, I think, of how these classes really impact you and how you can take what you learn there and apply it. So only good things to say about all my classes.
Great, thank you very much. Could we have the next slide, Betsy? So Joey's not here at the moment, but we're going to have Brian Morello tell his story.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm Brian Morello. I'm the director of CELEB, which is the Center for Entrepreneurship and Liberal Education at Beloit, which was founded by our former Coleman Chair of Entrepreneurship, Jerry Gustafson, in the mid-2000s. So Joey Evans, who is amongst the missing, started at Beloit College several years ago as a freshman, and he was dissatisfied with the apparel that he was being able to find, and of course that was a prime opportunity to start a venture. And he started with a t-shirt company, like we've seen many times before, and got some traction with it, sold some t-shirts, and then he and a buddy, as they started to evolve this idea, were fooling around on the internet and looking at internet memes of pop icons. The most familiar one was Kanye West when he stormed the stage and stole the microphone from Taylor Swift, and then kind of made a jackass of himself. They thought that was funny, and they appropriated that meme and made an embroidered image of it and put it on a polo, put it on as if it was a Ralph Lauren polo image on a golf shirt, and started this kind of company called the Mock brand, Memes on Clothing, MOC. And then their second edition was another hip-hop celebrity, Drake, who I really don't know, but apparently Drake's, one of his things was he would say, YOLO, you only live once. So they created the YOLO polo and put Drake's image on it, and that little clever little phrase caught on. It got picked up by MTV, Style magazine.
If we could see the next slide.
It got picked up by MTV, Style magazine, Complex, GQ. He had over 300,000 hits in one weekend, and that's what kind of launched the brand. He basically bootstrapped the entire project. He was selling through Big Cartel, which is an e-commerce site that creates virtual storefronts for companies, so he didn't even have his own website at that point. So he was stuffing shirts into boxes and fulfilling out of his bedroom, and off he went.
If we could see the next slide.
So he continues to expand his mix. He does bucket hats and knit caps, shirts, T-shirts, a variety of apparel, and through social media, he's really created a presence for himself, and most of his leads and orders come through that venue. I mean, he's sold as far as Japan. He's in some boutiques in Japan. He's in many streetwear stores throughout the country. Chicago was his beachhead, I guess you would say. He's been invited to start a distribution agreement with some folks in California, and here he is, a senior. It's an organized, licensed LLC, and a real business with real revenue, and basically started from that humble idea that we've seen a million times, all of us who've tried to work with students on businesses.
Well, thank you very much, Brian, for channeling Joey for us.
Sure, you're welcome.
I think he's probably still looking for my office. If we could see the next slide. Oh, there's some more of Joey's product. Do a Google search on Mock Brands, and you can go order his. And then we're going to hear from Michelle Dillon.
Hello. My name is Michelle Dillon. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, and I'm a junior. The classes I've taken with entrepreneurship have been Intro to Entrepreneurship with Brian Murillo. I'm now a TA for that Intro to Entrepreneurship class this semester. And last spring I took the Coleman Fellows class of Scientific, Environmental, and Social Entrepreneurship. During that class, I worked with some other fellow lacrosse players, and we decided that there wasn't enough school spirit on campus. So we were like, what can we do to make money, unify school spirit, because we were all lacrosse players, and we decided to make a T-shirt and start a T-shirt superfan, and I have that for you today. You can see it. It says, "Nuck a few bucks." We found out that using the patented Beloit B was kind of an issue, and there were some other issues with the color schemes with certain colors that we could and couldn't use to represent Beloit. So we came up with "Nuck a few bucks." So like knuckles when we score, when we have a great game, and we sold a bunch of these T-shirts, and we had a pitch, we had a business pitch that we had to sell off to Brian Murillo so he would fund our venture, and we did, and we all made about $200 to $300 a piece, and it was a great experience for me.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
If we could have the next slide.
Hello, I'm Zach Kolosinski. I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm a business econ major as well. Some of the entrepreneurship courses I've taken are Intro to Entrepreneurship, Entrepreneurship Practicum. I'm in Entrepreneurial Thinking in the Arts, and one of my favorite classes, which was run by some of the Coleman Fellows, was Social, Environmental, and Scientific Entrepreneur Workshop. During that class, me and two friends started the Snack Shack, which was an on-campus convenience store, and the original idea was that there isn't a convenience store on campus. The place you'd have to go if you wanted a candy bar or soda would have to be Walgreens, which is about a mile off of campus. And in order to minimize that, we decided to start it. We originally tried to do it just on Sundays and tried to find an area in which we could run it out of. But after a couple of weeks, we realized that it would be more effective to make it a delivery convenience store. So we actually ran it out of our rooms and began selling that way. Our first week, we did $128 in sales, which we were pretty excited about. Our upfront cost was $200 for all of our supplies. By the end of the semester, we had made $2,500 in revenue. That's in large part due to the fact that we began selling specialty items such as homemade beef jerky from a local butcher. We'd sell that, and we probably did $1,500 worth in sales in beef jerky. We ran that from January 2014 to December 2014, and then in December 2014, we sold it to a couple more entrepreneurs on campus. We now help them with consulting and run their accounting and everything, and their business is still going really well. So I'm very thankful for the opportunities that I've been given here at Beloit, and very thankful for all the opportunities from the Coleman Fellows.
And Zach, if you could also talk about your trip to the CEO conference.
Yes, CEO conference was it was a great we got to hear some really great speakers talk. One in particular was one of the starters of Redbox, the DVD vending machine. He told a great story about how when they were trying to start Redbox, it was actually being run through McDonald's originally, and there were about 8 other companies with the same idea, and whoever pretty much gave the best pitch would get their business. And he said it came down to 24 hours, where he demanded 24 more hours to prove that their product could work, and it ended up working, and he didn't know how or didn't know why, but he said because he demanded that 24 more hours and he had that passion, they were able to make this company. We also saw some really interesting student entrepreneurs there. For example, one student, I believe, was from Wisconsin Whitewater, invented a product that's like a can opener for a coconut, and I thought that was a really cool idea. There were over 1,000 people there and a lot of students that we got to meet with and talk with, and overall it was just a wonderful experience getting to see and hear from all of these successful people, and I'm very thankful for that.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any questions from any of the students?
Did a good job.
Well, if there are no questions.
Someone's trying to talk.
Yeah, there is a question from Heather Warren. There's a question.
Thanks. I'm never really sure, so I actually did that right, Joe. I'm glad.
You got it. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm in a kind of loud place, so I will try to mute between my question. For the people who started, and forgive me if this is not clear, but when you started your businesses, was it actually part of a class, or was it just something that you did outside of the class? And what different types of, like, what structure did you have behind it in terms of ownership issues and like the legal things, if you know, or if you did that? Can you speak to that a little bit?
We'll let each of the students answer that in turn.
Right. Mine was through mine was through the entrepreneurship practicum class that was taught by Brian. There weren't very many legal issues. Basically, it was all through check or cash. I had to maybe file a little bit for taxes, but otherwise, I didn't have to set up an LLC or anything. I used just waivers and pretty low contact camp as well, so I didn't have any issues. I will be planning on doing it again this next summer, and I am planning on setting up an LLC, which is a pretty easy process, and I'm sure that all of these people here would be glad to help me fulfill.
But it was something that did you run it with another person or just you? And I'm sorry to...
It was just me. I mean, my brother helped out a little bit, and I paid him some money, but otherwise it was just a personal venture.
Okay, so you did it sort of as a sole proprietorship, and then the institution didn't take any ownership, or like they didn't sponsor that. What about the ones who had, I guess, the delivery service? Well, you didn't have space because you delivered it out of your home, right?
So we kept all of our inventory like in my dorm room pretty much. It was me and 2 other guys, and it wasn't keeping track of inventory wasn't as hard as you would think. The biggest issues we ran into was like dividing up who's doing what and how much everyone's doing, because halfway through the semester, one guy wasn't doing nearly as much as the other 2 guys, and in reality, it probably could have been a job that was done by 2 people, but it was a really good experience to see how to deal with that, because both these people were my friends, and you didn't want to, I guess, you didn't want to ruin any friendships or anything like that. But with that being said, we had to really figure out how to balance everyone's time.
So was that part of the instruction?
Partly is, were these enterprises independent of Beloit College? And the answer is yes, they were.
Sorry, to the student who said you sold the snack things to the next, I guess, generation, I'm wondering what it is you sold, like how that worked. And then for everyone, I'm wondering if in this practicum course, if that was part of the curriculum to talk about how founders' relationships would work and what the different, structure of your business might be before you start doing that.
Yeah, you got it down at the bottom there, just drag it up.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay, yeah, so with the Snack Shack, we sold like soda, candy, but some of our biggest things that we sold were meal deals, which were we would cook frozen pizzas and sell those. We deliver them, and So we would cook a pizza, give them a bag of chips and a soda, and ordering from the local pizza place. Once we decided to expand a little more and go find kind of like a specialty item, we looked into beef jerky, largely in part because I play baseball and I'm an athlete, and on the road we're always looking for snacks and whatnot, and it always seems to be granola bars or fruit snacks or something like that, and so we wanted something different. We wanted to try something different. So we asked around, and beef jerky seemed to be like a thing that people would really enjoy, and it turns out that people really loved it. Actually, we got one order we placed that was $300, and we sold it all in one day, which was pretty incredible. So we really were able to expand in a great way and find a product that people couldn't find in Beloit.
I guess what I meant by that, and I'm sorry if that wasn't clear, is I thought I heard you say that when you were done with it, you sold your business to another student. Did I mishear that?
Yeah, we did. We ended up selling it to 2 freshmen who are on campus right now because they expressed a lot of interest in that. Being a junior right now, next year I'm planning on living off campus, so it wasn't really applicable for me to continue to run this. It's definitely something that you'd have to be on campus to do. So when they expressed interest to us, we were more than happy to talk with them and try and keep the business alive and running. And it's still going really well. We keep in touch with them.
Tell her about your customer list and how you kind of started the sale. That was interesting.
Like what you sold to them.
And how you transitioned.
Oh, yeah. So what we sold to them was like essentially kept track of all of our stuff in terms of sales, every single sale we did. So we were able to do that, and we were able to sell them our name, which was very popular on campus. Along with that, we helped them with marketing and where to put the marketing, advertising, business cards, pretty much everything that the business needed to be run, we helped them with and helped them get started. Now they're pretty much on their own. They come to us if they have any questions, but at first we set up their accounting. We showed them every single customer we've ever had. We had it organized so you would see which customers bought the most stuff, and you would be able to market towards them, and so they really found that appealing.
Okay. So Heather, you can go offline and talk to Warren and the students they run. So Betsy, you're back on.
Okay, great. Thank you. First of all, kudos to all of you. What really creative business ideas. Very impressed. So 2 thumbs up. So Ellery, my first question is for you. How did you sell $65,000 worth of your book?
Yeah, good question. So, and I guess I can kind of also touch on Heather's earlier question a little bit, but one of the big things that went kind of viral, so I don't know if you've heard of High Sci. It got published in a lot of different medical magazines. One of the kind of founders of the book went to a lot of different medical conferences. Also, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Epic, but it's the largest digital healthcare company in the world. And so they're based in Madison. So we know a lot of the people up there, and there's a lot of it's kind of a pretty intense company, so a lot of people drop out after about 4 or 5 years of working there and go on to start their own kind of startups and ventures. So there's like a pretty cool like tech healthcare scene up in Madison. It's actually really amazing. So one thing was sort of in the right place, I guess. Also, we got published in the New York Times, which was a pretty big, I think was one of the bigger things that kind of made it go a little viral. They actually didn't name us. The article was struck by an orca, which was my piece that I did, but they couldn't solicit, I don't know what the proper term is, but they couldn't name us, but it still drove a lot of traffic to our site. So one, it's like there's a really good medical community in Madison and kind of art scene. Also, yeah, we kind of bundled. We actually did a second book called MU2 Illustrated, which was different kind of medical codes, and honestly, I'm not 100% sure on how all the difference. Those are classifications, and that did not do as well. That we sold probably like maybe $10,000 worth. So I think that first one really snowballed, which is one of the kind of cool things. And then as far as like structuring it, it was pretty complicated because there are a lot of different artists, and we all kind of own percentages. So while I didn't do it exactly while I was in one of the classes, I'd taken entrepreneurship in the arts and kind of just all these other entrepreneurship classes. So I learned like a lot about copyright and how to kind of do percentages and manage stuff associated with that. So it was really helpful. I think on a lot of these, did you start a company while you were in the course? It's never, companies sort of just happen a lot of times. Very rarely have I seen like someone just starting like, we're going to start this company right now and it's going to work. So a lot of my ideas have kind of progressed and either been like partway through a course or afterwards or in between too. So, but I definitely have used kind of a lot of the fundamentals and concepts of copyright, legal, protecting your art, and also structuring a business and fairly and upfront. So that answers your question.
Great, Ellery, thank you. And proving the point why experiential entrepreneurship learning is the best, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I've learned way more actually getting hands-on, I think both in, startups and ventures of my own. So.
Great, thank you. And as Joe mentioned, if you have additional questions for the students, please let's continue this conversation offline. We're going to bump it back to Warren, excuse me, to talk about his micro business models exercise. Warren?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Warren, we can hear you. Go ahead. We cannot see you, though, because you're using a different audio setup, but go ahead.
So if we could, we have the next slide. So one of the things that all of these student ventures illustrate is the idea of a micro business. And I've taken this slogan from some very successful micro business pioneers who've actually spent their lives sailing the 7 seas in their own wooden sailboat they built, engineless wooden sailboat, and they've supported themselves through micro business. And they've got this slogan that says, go simple, go small, go now, which they're really talking about in terms of sailing, but I think it fits really well for micro business. So Joe asked me to share a lesson plan on micro business. And if you go to the next slide, this is actually a clicker-based survey that I was running in my life and financial planning class on Wednesday. Aiden's in that class, and he will attest that we got about halfway through before the technology crashed on us. And the purpose of this survey, which we went through really quickly because I wanted to just get students instantaneous reactions, was to ask people in the beginning, had they ever run any self-employment ventures, to get them thinking about the symmetry between the two sides of a transaction. So the questions start off with them on the buying side. And each one of these was on a separate slide, and we could see the students' response. We had 42 students in the class. And if we could see the next slide. So then I switched to asking questions on having them on the other side of the exchange, what experiences they had had. And if we could then see the next slide, we'll see that we eventually get back to the very first two questions. And my experience in previous classes is that by the time we run through these questions and we get back down to the end, many students will have realized that, oh, they do have experience being self-employed. They have now identified themselves as having a micro business. So part of the idea is that micro business is a natural. Many people have already done it, and we can think about doing it intentionally. These are the basic micro-business principles that I try to get people thinking about. I want to think about an ideal micro-business, one that you can start really quickly. You don't need to spend a month writing a business plan, that you find something you love doing. So we emphasize that the act of running the business gives you pleasure and profit. What a deal. And that you want to find an enterprise that you need almost no startup capital. Just like we were seeing with the students in their enterprises, they didn't have to go out and go into debt, borrow lots of money from family and friends. You can get started with zero or no very low startup capital. And we want to avoid fixed costs. This next slide actually is examples of successful micro businesses that students have run. And I asked Jerry Gustafson, who has many years of experience of getting students to start a micro business. He would give them $20 early in the semester and tell them, this is your startup capital. You need to double your investment every 3 weeks. And this lists sort of the top 10 that quickly came to mind to Jerry. Some of these are enterprises that students have repeatedly run. Some have been some especially creative enterprises, such as the art student who bought an old table at a secondhand store, painted it, and I believe she sold it for $700 or $800. We can see the next slide. So one of the things that if someone wants to do this in a class, and this is really designed to be done in classes that aren't 100% entrepreneurship classes, is to just have students brainstorm micro businesses, have them work in groups, and then the professor should do it as well. And whether or not the professor shares it depends on how easily the students can identify with the professor. So these are different micro businesses I could identify for myself without thinking too hard about it. And there's been one kind of small business or another that I've been running since 1975. And I think maybe there's one more slide. Yes, here are some useful resources. The $100 Startup is actually a terrific book, and for it has some very nice, this one-page business plan, and then I've also found some other micro-business references that people could consult. There's a lot of micro-business material on the web. The definition of micro-business is not one that everyone agrees on. Many of the micro-businesses people talk about seem bigger than micro to me. But the idea of go simple, go small, go now is what I think of as the starting place for micro business.
Are there any questions for Warren at this time? A couple of questions before we move on to the interim survey results.
Is the syllabus posted on the site?
This handout, I think I will get this posted, and I will post the syllabus for my life and financial planning course, in which there's a micro-business component in that course.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay. And if there are more questions, you can find Warren's information on the site. You should be able to email him and talk to him, and hopefully you can use this lesson plan. It's a very, I've used Jerry Gustafson's $20 student business financing opportunity, and it works well in some cases, but you should always try it, and it's a great way to get them going. I'm going to now turn this over to Clark, as he's going to talk about the survey that we fielded as the midpoint.
Great, thank you, Joe, and thanks to the group at Beloit, to Warren and the students. Can you see my desktop, Joe?
Yes.
Okay, great. Just wanted to give you a few minutes of an update where we talk about the results of the interim reports that we received. So this was a report that went out, or a survey that went out to all the project directors at participating schools as kind of a midpoint report. And it's part of how we kind of get up to date on what's happening at various campuses and what overall the program is accomplishing. So the way that we evaluate the program is through, for instance, sitting in on these calls. And so, you know, on these calls, we're monitoring the conversations. We're looking at the video of who's participating. So if you're connecting via video, that's a big advantage to you. We can see that you're in the room and we know that you're engaged. If you're only calling in, you know, it's hard for us to know kind of who you are and whether you're participating. So there's a big advantage to connecting via video as part of our evaluation process. Additionally, we monitor the website to see what's posted there, and we go through that and review those things. So we really appreciate the contributions that everyone makes to the website. And then we have an interim report survey that goes out to project directors. And what I'm going to do here is just kind of spin you through a couple things that we've pulled out of this. But overall, I think what we've kind of concluded is, you know, the program in its 6th year here and midway through it is moving towards accomplishing the goals that we've set for it. And one of those significant goals is increasing the ability of the lead entrepreneurship instructor, the project director, to spread entrepreneurship across campus. So we asked some pretty basic, you know, questions about this. And as you can see in the response to this question, almost everyone, in fact, everyone has reported that their participation in the Fellows Program as a project director enables them to successfully spread entrepreneurship across campus, and about 3/4 of participants say that's a pretty significant increase in their ability to push across campus. So this is, you know, a main part of the program to enable the entrepreneurship program to expand across your campus, and that seems to be happening. We asked, you know, how do you measure that? How do you know that entrepreneurship is actually moving across campus? What are the visible markers? And there are some things that we can count, and then there are a number of things that, you know, we really can't count that are much more intangible. So certainly counting the number of people involved, the number of fellows, the number of students that are taking courses, you know, enrollment activities, the number of majors, the number of people that are attending events. Those are countable things that we do track, and really at the end of the year, we do ultimately try to understand the total number of students that we've touched through the program, so that's important. But there's a lot of other things that are helpful as well in terms of kind of understanding attitudes and interests, and that's evident both in students and in faculty. So how many faculty members are actually on these calls? How many folks are sitting in the room together building relationships? And that's why being connected through video conference is really important, because we can see that. You know, if you're just on a phone call, we don't, you know, we can't see your face. We can't see your kind of reaction and your engagement. So that's why that's important. Things of that nature. So those intangibles are things that we're trying to learn how to better measure. Next question is all around collaboration. What's the degree to which fellows are collaborating with one another and you know, even beyond the set of fellows themselves? What we got reported back is that there is pretty strong collaboration. You know, 80% of campuses are saying collaboration is strong, and others are saying it is growing. And there are a variety of forms of that collaboration that take place, and we understand, you know, we're getting a little feedback. If you could put yourself on mute if you can. We'd appreciate it. There's a variety of different ways that collaboration takes place, and part of it is, attendance at these meetings, attendance at the meetings that you have, with your colleagues on campus, the nature of discussion at those meetings. So these are things, some tangible, some intangible, that we're trying to, better understand. So as you kind of engage with one another, and again, here on these calls is a great example. Hopefully you're all together as a team so that you have the opportunity to connect and dialogue and discuss, and now, kind of respond to what you've seen about what's happening at Beloit, and talk about what you're doing that's similar to that or different, engage with one another. So those occasions to get together and talk are really critical to the program's success. We talked about administrative support. I won't take too much time on this slide, but we are very interested in trying to encourage and ascertain the degree to which there is administrative support for this program, but largely for pushing entrepreneurship across campus. And it does look like, your administrators are supporting your work, your deans, your provosts, your department chairs. There are a variety of different things that are evidence of that. Some is financial support. So, this year we really made a big push to try to encourage schools to match their financial support for fellows. So that's an important indicator. But also the degree to which your administration allows you to teach what you're teaching, allows you to modify your courses, things of that nature. So those are all important markers as well. We asked some operational questions, and here this is kind of interesting. We asked, who are the project directors? How much time are you spending with fellows? So we are interested in kind of understanding the level of support and the amount of commitment that project directors are making. And you can see the experience here. If you're a fellow, we would ask you to make sure you are taking advantage of the support that your project director can provide and the consulting and the education you can receive from your lead entrepreneurship faculty. So please, reach out and secure that if you haven't here to date. And we're very interested in making sure that the courses that are emerging out of the Fellows Program aren't just one-time offerings, but they are added to the course catalog at your institution, that they are taught year after year. Even if they're, minor modifications to a course, we want to make sure that minor modification that enables entrepreneurship to reach your students outside the business school is consistently delivered year after year. So I think we're seeing in large measure to date that most of the courses that are being developed are added to the curriculum and are offered year over year. I want to take just a minute here. In fact, maybe I'll go back before I get to this and open it up for any questions. Are there any kind of questions or thoughts in response to that really quick overview that I shared? As you raise your hand, if you're so inclined, I think what we're feeling, again, as I mentioned at top, is that the program is meeting its goals. It's really helping to spread entrepreneurship across campus, as evidenced by the courses that we're seeing developed and posted to the website. The responses that project directors are indicating that they feel that they have more ability to spread entrepreneurship across the campus. And the fact that the courses that are being developed are sticking in the curriculum. So those are really key things that we're looking for. If there are no questions about that quick overview, I want to take a few minutes and kind of look forward and talk about the Fellows Program beyond this year. So at this point, we have a couple things that we want to announce. One is that the program is going to continue. We're excited to kind of get that level of support from our board to advance the Fellows Program into the next academic year. We're currently in the process of working through some structural questions and determining exactly what the program is going to look like, the size of the program, the particular responsibilities and requirements of participants. So we're meeting with our board next week to have some of those conversations, and in coming days there'll be more clarity around the way in which we will confirm who will be participating in the program and precisely what it will look like. But we do know that we will have a Fellows Summit, very much like the Fellows Summit we had last summer. It'll take place in mid-August, those dates that you see before you, in the Chicago area. So we're in the early stages of planning what's going to be a really fantastic Fellows Summit, building on the model that we used last year and enhancing it to a degree. So all project directors from participating schools and any new fellows funded through the program will be required to attend the summit, and all veteran fellows are welcome. So if you can kind of think about, those dates, we'll be kind of confirming things here in the future in terms of schools that will participate, and then, how we can kind of lay out a greater sense of clarity as to what's going to take place. So in the next few weeks, after we formalize the plans for the Fellows Program, Rosa, Mike, and I, the staff of the foundation, will be reaching out to project directors, and we will be scheduling conversations with you. So we're not to the stage where we've kind of defined expectations for next year's program, but we'll be having those conversations shortly. So if you're wondering, how do I indicate my interest in participating next year? How do I kind of determine, what the next steps for me as a project director or a fellow are? We'd ask you to just sit tight for a couple weeks as we finalize the game plan, and then during the month of March, we'll be back in touch with you. But we do know that the program will continue and the Fellow Summit will occur, so we're excited about that. So I'll open it up for any kind of quick questions now before we throw it back to Betsy and Joe.
Okay, if you are trying to ask a question, please use your raise hand button. And there is so much static, so I had to mute some of the call-in users. Okay, there's a question from Heather. Go ahead.
Oh, I accidentally did that.
Okay, then it's from UNCG.
Hey, Clark, this is Steve. So last year it was a day-and-a-half conference in Chicago, and this year you've got 3 days. Does that mean you do intend it to be more intense or longer than last time?
Yeah, the current thinking, Steve, actually, thanks for the question. The current thinking, is that we want to add about another half day to it. So August 13th is a Thursday. So we're contemplating starting off Thursday evening with kind of a, maybe a keynoter, and then going into Friday, full day Friday, and then, part of Saturday, allowing for departures on Saturday. So that's the current thinking right now, but, again, as we finalize things, that may change.
All right. Thank you, Clark.
You're welcome. Thanks for the question.
Any other questions for Clark? Again, all of the directors will be contacted by either Clark, Mike, or Rosa, so you'll have a chance to talk to them one-on-one. And then, Clark, you are planning on visiting some campuses too, correct? Can you talk about that, please?
Yes, some of those conversations with project directors may be in the form of in-person visits. So we're going to be making a few in-person visits. We won't be able to visit every campus, but we will, if we haven't already, we'll be contacting you to schedule those visits here in the next few days. And we hope that those will be opportunities for us to learn a little bit more about your programs, to, again, talk with you about kind of the right level of support going forward for the Fellows program. And, again, we will not be able to do everybody, in person, but we're going to try to talk to a number of schools.
Okay. I think there's another question from Betsy. Is it you?
Oh, I just had a comment for Clark. Joe, is my audio okay?
Yes, it's okay.
Okay, great. Clark, I just wanted to say thank you, obviously, first of all, for continuing the Fellows program. And secondly, for sharing this summary. I think that this is the kind of thing that really helps build the Coleman Fellows as a community, to see this sort of aggregate content to show our sort of collective progress. And so I just wanted to thank you for sharing that information.
You're very welcome.
Okay. If there are other questions, you're always welcome to email Clark or Rosa or Mike. I cannot tell you how available they are to answer questions and clarify things for everybody in the program. So thank you again for that. I just wanted to, this is a sort of an indication of how widespread we are as a community of practice. And I wanted to bring up the other two all-community coffee hours. The next one is March 27th, and the one after that is April 24th. May 22nd is the last session, last coffee hour for the academic year 2014-15, and that's for directors only. And if there are ideas or suggestions as to what you would like to see and happen either on March 27th or April 24th, please email me or have your fellows email me or call me. You can post something on the site. We are always looking for new and different ways to engage the community of practice during these coffee hours. And it's not always easy sometimes with some technology. Go ahead. There's a question or comment? I saw a hand raise. Okay, maybe not. So the intent is to have, like Clark mentioned, have all of you on camera. And if there are tech issues, I'm more than happy to schedule one-on-one sessions with you to walk through that. And I can give you ideas on what kind of camera you need to get. It's not that expensive to accommodate the technology side of it. And I'll be happy to do that so there is no audio or video issues. And as Clark mentioned, we really want to make this a human meeting as much as possible. So the video feed is critical to that. And from time to time, there are tech issues that come up, and I'm going to reach out to the project directors individually to see if that can be resolved. And also, we intentionally did not want fellows to individually sign up to the session. So that means if you have Webster or WPI or other groups, we want them, the expectation is that you will assemble your fellows in one space and use only one of the sign-ins. And if you don't do that, then if there are 25 spots taken in the session, like today, North Central couldn't sign in and WPI could not sign in. So far, I've seen 4 emails. So I think there was only 2 that couldn't sign in because others have taken up those spots. So we would strongly urge you to consider using only one sign-in per university and have the engagement of the fellows as a group. So there is another question. Heather, is it, let's see. Oh, go ahead, UNCG.
Hi, Joel. So a quick note, there was a snowstorm in North Carolina yesterday. So some UNCG and perhaps Elon people may be signed in from home because they're iced in. So apologize if that's one of the issues that you face with today.
Yes, I do know that Kevin is signed in by audio, but that's only, so yeah, we always accommodate those kinds of situations, but we wanted to see how to minimize those occurrences, that's all. And Clark, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I just want to build on that. If you feel you need to connect individually, make sure that you are logging in your participant ID so that your phone identification is connected with your name. As we sit in these meetings, we keep track of who's participating, and we see a lot of anonymous call-in connectors that don't have a name associated with them. So the #1 best way to participate is with your colleagues all in one room. That's far and away the best. If you have to go in a different direction, make sure you follow the directions in signing into the meeting so that your identity is associated with your voice on the call-in. So there's not only the meeting ID you have to key in, but there's a participant ID that associates you individually with the meeting. So again, #1, meet all together as a group. If you can't do that, make sure you use the participant ID. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. It's 11:01, and we always appreciate all of your time and effort and all that you do for the Fellows Program. I will reach out to the directors to walk through some tech issues. Unusually, increased tech issues today, but we will work through that. And thank you again for all your patience. And we will connect again on the 27th of March. Have a great rest of the Friday.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.